Hey, good morning, church family. Thank you for joining us for another devotional. Today I'm going to talk about the subject of accountability. I want to start in this verse in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 23. It says, "Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for God can be trusted to keep his promise. Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works, and let us not neglect our meeting together, as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of his return is drawing near." I think that that's maybe one of the most relevant verses with everything that I see around us when it comes to the importance of accountability. The truth is, we're all held accountable. It comes from different levels. We all have accountability above us. Anytime you've been driving down the road and you see blue lights in your rearview mirror, you're being held accountable. We've been held accountable from beside us. Co-workers hold us accountable. Spouses hold us accountable for different things in our life. We're also held accountable from below us. If you have people that work for you, if you have kids, you certainly understand this. I remember one time driving in the car, and I remember having one of the kids in the back seat, and somebody cut me off, and I remember yelling out, "You idiot." And then I realized there's a kid in the back seat. I kind of hoped that they didn't hear it. And just a few minutes later, somebody else cut us off, and I hear from the back seat, "You idiot." So obviously our kids will emulate us, and that's certainly a form of accountability. But the truth is, even though we're all held accountable, not all of us are held accountable the way that I believe the Lord would want us to be held accountable. In each one of our lives, there's actually two different types of accountability. There's an external accountability, and that's what I was just talking about. That's those outside influences. But there's also internal accountability. And just because somebody's being held accountable externally on a consistent basis doesn't necessarily mean that they're developing that internal accountability, because really that's integrity, that's character. And internal accountability is the strongest form of accountability that a person can have, but it has to be motivated by external accountability. Most people, they're not able to develop strong internal accountability without external accountability. In my life, the weakest points have always been when I stopped pursuing external accountability. It was in those seasons when I began to isolate, when I began to feel like I've got this figured out. I think I'm strong enough in any particular area. And before I knew it, I was set up and I would make mistakes. I would fall. And it was in those seasons when I was pursuing external accountability that I was the strongest. Even when I felt like I was strong, when I made it a discipline to continue to pursue external accountability, it just kept me on track. I feel like the biggest issue that people can have is when they stop being humble, when they feel like they have what they need. They have the strength they need. They have the information they need. They've got it figured out. I think there's been a lot of people in the last couple of years that because they sat and watched a bunch of videos or they listened to enough news on TV that they somehow feel like they have all the information that they need and they're right. They're right no matter what. The problem is they quit pursuing any kind of outside objective input. Well, that's not healthy when it comes to just information that's out there, but it's certainly not healthy when it comes to our spiritual lives. We've seen plenty of spiritual leaders in the last few years that have fallen, that have had to step down from churches. And I think probably what happened was they got in that place where they quit being honest. They quit pursuing accountability. They didn't humble themselves. And it was just a matter of time before the enemy was going to set them up. Their own decisions were going to put them in a compromising position. So I think accountability is incredibly important for every believer to receive But more importantly, I think you should ask yourself, how are you pursuing it? I think that's a humble heart. A humble heart is not just when you want to give somebody accountability. As some of you may feel like you're really good at that. I'll let you know where you're missing it. But I think a humble position is, I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to find that person who's in that next step of life, who it appears that they are living out the fruit of the Spirit. They have character. They have integrity. They're in a next season. They've raised children well. They've done things well financially. They've done things well in relation to their calling and their purpose. And to invite those people to ask you the hard questions. So what does this look like practically? Some areas that I would encourage every person to pursue and receive accountability in. First of all, your spiritual life. How's your prayer life? What has God been speaking to you through His Word? And then your social life. How do your relationships look? Are they healthy? Do you feel like the relationships around you are helping you be a better person? Be the person God's created you to be? Are you pouring out? Also, your finances. Are you being wise with that? Are you trusting the Lord? Are you tithing? Are you giving? Are you being wise? And then also, I think around your health. Are you being wise with that? Do you have the proper guards up that are keeping you healthy? And I think that can go into some of those harder questions to ask too. Have you been looking at anything that you shouldn't? Who have you been around that maybe you shouldn't? Are you keeping good guards on those things? I believe every believer needs to have someone that they're pursuing. This is a personal responsibility thing. I don't expect the people that I have accountability with to always be calling me. I think a sign of spiritual maturity is when you see, no, I see the value in this. This is like mentorship. I see the value in inviting these people to hold me accountable. I'm going to pursue it, and then I'm going to be open, honest, and humble to let them hold me accountable. And I believe as the day approaches, like this verse talks about, it's that much more important that we're on guard, that we ask ourselves the question, am I pursuing accountability that ultimately facilitates my eternal purpose in calling? Or am I just being held accountable naturally to the world around me? New life, let's pursue accountability. I think it's important. I believe it honors the Lord and it helps us be the people He's created us to be. God bless. We'll see you later.